There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Blazers Uprise show, post-game show. Blazers defeat the Rockets tonight, 125 to 111. Is it working now? We'll wait to make sure you guys can hear me. Is the audio good now? Okay. All right, so 125-111. Blazers get the victory this evening. Fantastic game. Anytime you beat the Rockets, Westbrook, Harden, it's always a great thing. Torrey actually went to the game tonight, so he'll be joining us in a little bit, I think. So you're stuck with me for a little bit. Damian Lillard, amazing once again. Only scored, 36 points? God, what's wrong with him tonight? But he did notch his first ever triple-double, which was amazing. I have to try to remember how to navigate through all this chat stuff. There's so many comments that are being held for review. Ariza had a tremendous game as well. I'm glad Dame didn't chase his last rebound. He got it naturally. And it was amazing to get it against Russell Westbrook. I'm sure Westbrook fans will be out in full force saying, "Oh, Dame's first triple-double." Yeah, Ariza is really a game changer. And Tori and I were actually texting back and forth about this. What's the difference in the offense the last couple of days or games? And to me, the difference is Ariza and Little tonight actually played a lot. They cut on the backside. When the ball gets to the middle of the key, they're cutting down the middle. And that completely opens up the offense. Torrey's been saying this for years, that's open for any person who's in the corner. If you're not getting open threes or not good at shooting threes, if you cut to the basket, you get a wide open lane or dunked every time. And tonight was an example of how that works. I was really glad to see that. Ariza just knows where to be on the floor. It's so cool to see. He just is a vet. There's no other way to put it. I've been saying this for a while now. I want the Blazers to get more higher basketball IQ guys around Damian Lillard. Just people who know how to play the game. Melo's one of them. Ariza now. You get Nurk back. Collins is that way. So any trades we make from here on out, I hope we bring in guys who are high IQ guys and not guys who are potential guys who are known to be lazy or not really smart on the court. Yeah, Trent was really good tonight too. He had a couple threes in the first half. He missed a couple of easy ones in the second half, but overall I really like Trent's game right now. He's picking it up on defense as well. I thought pretty much everyone had a good game for the Blazers. I mean, even Simons didn't. I don't think he played at all in the second half, did he? But he hit his 1-3 wide open. It's good to see him knocking that down. Anytime Trent and Simons make their first three, it's a good sign usually. Just reading the box score real quick. So Ariza had 21 points on 9 of 14 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. I mean, we haven't got that kind of production all year from our small forward position, so it's so nice to have that. Melo really struggled shooting tonight, 2 for 11, but he contributed with 13 rebounds and 5 assists, so you love to see those numbers. Usually when he has a 2 for 11 game or a 4 for 14 type game, it's basically zeros in the other categories. So it's really good to see when his shot's not falling that he contributed in other areas. Whiteside with a solid 15 and 10 on 6 of 9 shooting. He had some great finishes in the second half, I thought. Also 5 blocks, which is amazing. I love when he blocks Harden or Westbrook going to the paint. There's nothing better than to see those guys get swatted. CJ finished 9 of 19. Not the best night shooting, but I'll take 9 of 19 from him. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 22 points overall. He actually had 2 steals and 2 blocks. We'll get into some more specific stuff later. Man of the night, though, Damian Lillard, 36 points on 11 of 21 shooting. He was 6 of 12 from three-point land, including 2 shots in the second half from the logo. His foot was, both feet were on the line of the logo. The first one and the second one, his heel was on the logo for midcourt, and that's just amazing. He just pulls up and shoots that with ease. The bench, Nasir Little, what a game from him. This might be his best game of the year. He was 4 for 5 from the field, 10 points, only 2 rebounds, but he was everywhere on the floor. I really like his on-ball defense. He still has a long way to go for his help defense and awareness on the court, but just the several times he got switched onto a guard in this game, I thought he did a really good job. Not necessarily keeping him in front of him, but making him take a tough shot, even though they drove past him. Simons only took that one shot, made it. Only played 9 minutes. Yeah, unfortunately, as we get further into the season, if he continues to struggle, there's just not room for him in the rotation. I hope he still gets a chance in each game like he did tonight. Maybe knock down a shot and get some confidence back before he gets more minutes. I'd like to see him get more minutes when he is making shots. Hopefully he'll be rewarded for that, but you never know. Swanigan had 2 points in 7 minutes, 1 rebound, 1 assist. He had a really nice pass to, I think it was Little, cutting down the baseline. So really good game overall. For the Rockets, Russell Westbrook was 15 of 28 from the field, 37 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. It's actually a pretty good game from him. He did have 6 turnovers, though. Harden was terrible once again. We found a way to slow him down. Defensive game plan, I thought, was pretty good for the most part. We'll talk about some breakdowns, especially late in the second half. But other than that, I thought we played a really good game tonight on Harden. He had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I'll take that every time when you're playing the Rockets. 6 turnovers for him as well. Eric Gordon was a measly 2 for 10 from the field. 1 for 8 from 3 of 8 points. PJ Tucker, 2 for 7, 1 for 4 for 3. Clint Capella only got 1 shot in this game, only had 7 rebounds. I think Whiteside completely took him out of this game. Who else? McLemore came in and hit a bunch of threes. For some reason, it's doubling up my box score with Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker not showing McLemore in house, but I know McLemore hit several threes in this game. But yeah, let's go off the Rockets. Who cares about them, right, guys? Let's talk about your Portland Trailblazers. Is Tori in the chat? Oh, okay. What's up, Tori? How was being at the game tonight? All right, so now that I've read through the box score, I'll try to get into chat a little bit. Yeah, I have major lighting issues in my house. I don't have like a bedroom like Tori has where I can set it up to be a studio. So have to kind of do it in the dining room. Sorry about that. Workhorse says we need Iguodala. Why, if Iggy's not playing for Memphis, who's ahead of us in the standings, why would he come here if they're traded here? And please don't spam the chat. So, as I watch games, I take like notes. You can see like I have a whole sheet of notes here for the game tonight. At the end, it just says logo Lillard triple double. I don't know if you can even tell. There is a lot of people with inappropriate comments right now. Try to keep those. Be nice to me and try to keep those down a little bit. I don't know if Tori will have a voice. We'll see. Gabriel says Tori needs to chill on who can and can't help this team. Ariza has been beyond solid, as many of us imagined, just like Melo. Pick up both moves. Tori was actually really excited about the Ariza trade. He thought it was a great trade. So I don't know what you're talking about there. I was kind of so-so on the Ariza trade. I did like upgrading Bazemore to Ariza. I didn't like giving up 2 second-round picks. But it's turning out to be a pretty good trade, even though Ariza isn't necessarily a long-term fit. But yeah, Tori thought Ariza would make us better. And he was also, in the offseason, he was definitely against picking up Melo, but he was on board when it actually happened. So yeah, I don't know where you're getting that information from. Hey, Bruce Davis, how you doing? So let's talk about the fourth quarter for a little bit. Against a team like the Rockets, it ended up being okay, but I'd almost rather like to give them 2-pointers, not just let them lay it in, but I feel like against a team like the Rockets, you want to take away their 3-point shot. And instead of taking that away, we were collapsing too much on the penetrator, and it was allowing them to get easy threes on kickouts. And I just don't like that kind of stuff. And then silly things like when you're in the bonus and fouling someone at half court and giving them 2 free throws. Stuff like that you got to really be careful about. There was a couple of defensive lapses in the first half as well, but it's hard to complain when you blow out the Rockets at home. So I'm not going to get too negative on that. But yeah, Trent Little off the bench, very, very solid games. I didn't understand putting Swanigan in the game in the first half when the Rockets had a lineup of 4 guards and PJ Tucker was their only non-guard in the game, and we put Swanigan in with Melo. And I actually charted that possession because I noted it when he came in the game. When he came in the game, I was like, oh, great. Here's Swanigan. Who's he supposed to guard? Because PJ Tucker's in the game. And they had 9 possessions. There was a little over 4 minutes left in the first quarter. They had 9 possessions, the Rockets did, after that point, and scored 25 points on those 9 possessions. So they almost averaged 3 points per possession for the rest of the quarter, and almost blew the game right there. We were down, 36-30 at the end of the first quarter because of that. Got down by, I want to say 10 or so at the beginning of the second quarter. But yeah, we were giving up a lot of open shots, like Kyle Campbell said. We just got kind of lucky that they were missing several of them. But yeah, so not only did we have Swanigan in the game, but he was doing that thing where he'd transparently just come and double team Luka, or not Luka, but like he did on Luka in the Dallas game, where Harden can see that coming like for 5 seconds before it actually happens, so he has time to like react to it. You don't want to double team guys like that far in advance, or like without a screen being set. So what you want to do is wait for one of the guys on the Rockets to get closer to Harden, and then that person double teams him. It doesn't work at all when you send a double team to half court and just leave a guy wide open. So all Harden has to do is pass to one guy, and then he makes one other pass, and it's wide open for a 3-point shot. And like I said, they missed a lot of them, but man, what a great game overall offensively. We've been playing great since Ariza came. That's definitely not our problem right now on the offensive end. And Damian Lillard is attracting so much attention right now because he is on fire. It's really sad that 36 points seems like a really low output from him, but he was amazing in this game as well. I think right now I'll head over to chat for a little bit. What's up, Natran? What's up, Hamza? What's up, AM Productions, Dame Dalla? Yeah, those talking crap to Torrey better stick around till he comes back. Melo Stay says one thing I hated to see was us playing stupid ISO ball when we had a huge lead. I agree with that. Sup Lillard to clutch. Sup first P last JL. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really like the ISO ball. It's fine with Dame right now because he's killing it. He's not really doing anything that I can question at the moment. But yeah, we got the big lead because of ball movement and cutting and moving around, and I wish we would do more of that. We also had 8 turnovers in the third quarter, so I was surprised with that amount of sloppiness that we kept the lead. Alvaro, what's up? I was so mad at the beginning of this game. We scored 4 points in the first 5.5 minutes or so. Just really, really bad offense. Completely flat, sloppy, turnovers killing it, and they were leading to transitions for the Rockets. There was a play, it was 1 or 2 plays into the game where the Rockets shot the ball. The rebound hit the floor. All the Blazers were just standing there staring at it. And then it just bounced, and then a rocket ran through and grabbed it. I was so mad. It's like, we already have rebounding issues, so we can't do that. First piece says open corner 3 is a problem with our defense, and it definitely is. Luckily, they missed a lot of them too, but the game plan is definitely to get the ball out of Harden's hand and make those guys shoot the corner 3. The corner 3 is usually the highest percentage 3-point shot, so it's not always good to give up open ones of those, but worked for us tonight. We've had a good game plan against the Rockets the last 2 times we played them. Yeah, Ariza did a really solid job on Harden. We almost didn't need a double team a lot of times. He obviously played there with the Rockets and Harden for a while, so he probably knows a lot of his tendencies. I actually really like Ariza. I hope we keep him. Obviously, if we traded him for an upgrade, like we needed his salary in a Robert Covington trade or something like that, it might be okay. But like I said, I really like his basketball IQ. He's so savvy. He knows where to be, both on offense and defense. I just really like the way he plays. So I'm hoping they pick up his contract next year, get Hood back healthy at some point, and add a third wing to go with that. And then you add in Damian CJ, Nurk Collins, whatever bigs we have left. That's a really solid rotation next year. So I think that would be pretty good to bounce back next year. Covington is getting overrated at this moment. It's kind of funny. I've always thought Covington was overrated by a lot of people, but he's a fantastic team defender, and he would fit perfectly with Dame and CJ off the ball, kind of making up for some of their inconsistencies on defense. And then you add Ariza with another guy like Covington or Hood and Covington or Hood and Ariza, then all of a sudden you have a lot of switchability and some different things you can do. Collins is supposed to be back sometime middle of March, I think. Probably early March at the very soonest. He was out practicing with the team before the game. It's good to see. One thing I am kind of concerned about is Nurk hasn't been at the last 2 games. I don't know if there's a reason why. Maybe he got that sickness or something and just doesn't want to be around the team right now. But he's been at most of the games this year, so it's a little concerning that he hasn't been there. First piece says the refs were good this game. Yeah, not too many complaints. I'm glad that was one thing in my notes. Stotts used his challenge at the perfect time tonight. Anytime you can challenge a foul call that was for Westbrook, and it turns into a foul against him and a turnover. That's always a good challenge. So I love the use of the challenge tonight. Nurk's not at the games because he's getting prepared to come back next week. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why that has to be mutually exclusive. Why can't he practice all day and then come to the game? Yeah, Dame got some calls. I thought that one offensive foul where it was up top and Rivers kind of bumped him and Dame got called for an offensive foul. Thought that was weak, but other than that, yeah, pretty good game. I almost wish that in the future you'd get a second challenge if you win your first one. That way you don't have to worry about using it too early or not. But I mean, that's a minor gripe. I guess it's cool that they have one this year. This was a makeup game for the refs. Yes, it'll be interesting to see because this is now the second time with Houston that we've had a really good game plan by the coaching staff. And then the following games we haven't executed, and we go right back into our old defense. So it'll be interesting to see what we do on LeBron and Anthony Davis if we throw some double teams at them. Stotts in the past hasn't really double teamed a lot of players. He's done it now with Harden and Luka recently. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we stop them because we don't really have the players right now to stop those two guys. They're unique challenges on their own, not on the same team, and against like really good defenders, let alone when you don't have a good power forward defender. I guess Ariza's probably going to start on LeBron, I would guess. But yeah, it's going to be a highly emotional game. It'll be interesting to see if that gives the Lakers a huge boost or if they come out flat because they're emotional. Let's keep the comments clean there, guys. I'm trying to keep up with chat, yeah. I don't know how I'm doing, but Hazonia, put Hazonia on LeBron. I mean, Hazonia didn't play. Did he play last game? I don't know if he played last game either, and we had our best two offensive games of the season. I don't know if that's a coincidence. I love that Little got extended time tonight. Tori's got a lot going on. Let's not rip him for not reading the comments. He tries, and it should be my job to help him out with that. But he likes to rant a lot too, so... But yeah, Little played 18 minutes tonight, which is a lot for him. Devin says he wouldn't be mad if the Lakers win after Kobe. See, yeah, it's one thing to not be mad, but Kobe wouldn't want the Blazers to go in and like let the Lakers win either. He'd want everyone to compete and no one to give up. So I'm hoping they give him a game. And I want the Blazers to win because that would be a huge win for this team. And it would kind of put some of the people who say that we're just going to get swept by the Lakers into question. But yeah, I feel like this team is one solid move at the trade deadline next week away from being right back in the mix. And it's hard. Like every time this season I've gotten excited about them winning a game or two, it goes back and then they play like crap. But I'm hoping this is the team we see going forward. Obviously, there's still a lot of stuff to clean up, but the way they're playing on offense, and it's almost like Ariza came in and he doesn't know any better not to cut. And, but I love seeing that. Yeah, Hamza, it's okay. Like we all have our strengths and weaknesses, so Torrey can run his show however he wants. But yeah, Lakers move the ball, and our passing's been a lot better, like Big Mac says. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where this team's at. It'll be a very good test. Yeah, 5-3 in the last 8 games. And this was another win in that tough stretch too. And we've said all along, if we can just be near 500 or so in that stretch, we said it was like 14 games a while back. I'm going to look up how we're doing in that. Yeah, if we can just survive this, right around the All-Star break trade deadline, we have a super easy stretch of games. Let's see. But yeah, 5-3 in our last 8. Like you said, considering some of the opponents during that stretch, including beating Houston twice. Pacers were shorthanded, but I mean, we need wins. So, yeah. Who do you think we could trade Swanigan and Mario for straight up? Well, the unfortunate part is they can't be combined in a trade because we just traded for Swanigan. So, during the trade deadline is before the date where they can be combined in a trade again. So we can only trade Swanigan by himself, or if the trade still works, whether he's included or not. So unfortunately, that basically means you can either trade Hazonia for someone who works out or not put them together. Stotts is going to put Swanigan on Anthony Davis. Yeah, that's probably going to happen, unfortunately. Do I think that with the salary cap dropping, Whiteside becomes more desirable as an expiring? I think Whiteside is desirable. It's just that so many teams that need him can't realistically get to a way of making a trade for a player making $27 million without including like 4 guys. So it's just a situation where he probably has some trade value and the expiring has value, but with roster spots and contracts on some of the teams that would want him, it's just a really tough situation. So I don't know how to fix that, because you can't make a team like Boston give up a Gordon Hayward for him. But even though the salary cap's dropping, this isn't a huge free agency class. I think a lot of teams are going to gear up for the 2021 free agency, which is supposed to be a really big free agency, even especially if guys like Kawhi and Paul George and those guys opt out of their deals if it doesn't go well in LA. So we'll see next year. That's why Tori and I are so high on trading for contracts that expire next year instead of this year. Because the other problem is this year we have all the 4-year contracts from the 2016 offseason, which turned out to be a disaster for almost every team that signed big contracts that offseason. So you have all those guys like Chandler Parsons, Evan Turner, Bismack Biyombo, all like Marvin Williams, Mozgov and Luol Deng would be included in that, but they got bought out last year. And then Joakim Noah too, but he got bought out way before his contract was close to being over. So yeah, Alan Crabb. The market's just kind of flooded with big expiring contracts. And the next problem is looking around the league, there aren't a ton of bad contracts in the NBA anymore. And the ones that are bad are ones that the teams don't want to give up and give away assets to get out of. So you're looking at like Kevin Love. The Cleveland's not thinking that they want to give up a first or something to get rid of Kevin Love. Or like Wiggins on Minnesota, like they're not going to give up picks to get rid of him. They're just going to take their chance that he gets better. So it's just kind of a mix between there being way too many expiring contracts and not enough contracts that teams are looking to get out of for giving up assets to do. And then you combine that with the lack of free agency or the excitement around free agency this summer compared to previous summers. So yeah, I'd rather have Melo at the minimum than most of the guys with bad contracts. I don't hate Whiteside either, but he has to be traded in order for this team to reach the next level. And I mean, it's possible he could re-sign, but I just don't think that is best for what this team needs going forward. Yeah, Harden's numbers are trash when he doesn't shoot 20 free throws a game. He kind of, the last two games against the Blazers at least, and this has actually been kind of a thing with him lately. I know he was dealing with the thigh bruise the last couple games, but he seemed almost disinterested in games. Like he's almost deferring to Westbrook too much, and that's definitely not good for Houston. It's good for people who hate Houston. But yeah, I don't like trade for John Wall. Yeah, I think the Wizards still think that they're going to do something someday. And I doubt they would attach assets to get rid of Wall. And I think he's making over $40 million. So that's a trade where it might have been possible pre-trading Bazemore, but a lot of those trades now are really hard to do without Bazemore's contract being able to be aggregated with Whiteside. But I know you're kidding, First P, but that is a good... That is probably one of the few contracts that is really bad. What did Tolliver do? I didn't see the score on the Sacramento. Oh no, Sacramento got blown out, right? Yeah, they lost by 20. I think we all had that right. But if you missed it, the point spread that we had for the podcast earlier in the Indiana game was 8.5, and they were down 3, and Oladipo in his first game back hit a long 3 to tie it and send it into overtime, and then they won by 9 in overtime. So they covered the spread for all of us who picked Indiana, except for Torrey. He picked the Bulls in that one. Yeah, Tolliver won us that one game, scoring 16 in the fourth. What was that, the Charlotte game? Yeah, I got to give Olshey props on their Ariza trade. Anytime you better the team and save money, it's hard to really complain. I know I was kind of meh about the trade, but yeah, I mean it's looking really good right now. Any thoughts on when they're going to play the other guy we got in the trade? I don't know why. So it holds for reviews like almost all chats that say Whiteside. Like Whiteside's a bad word or something. I would love to see Wenyen get a chance to play at some point, but I just think right now they're trying to get the 8 seed, and that's all they're focused on. So yeah, he's not really going to get a chance unless there's more injuries. Hopefully not, fingers crossed, or someone really struggles, or there's a trade. Mellow stay, come on. Yeah, that got hell for review just because you typed Whiteside. But yeah, I don't think Wenyen's really going to get a chance. In fact, as we start to get more guys back, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets put back down in the G League for a while. Yeah, see, like it says, Arwen says, Whiteside playing like the best big man in the league, but that got held for review. I don't really understand I don't know if the settings are too sensitive or something. Yeah, Wenyen is actually a free agent this summer, but we do own. I think we can give him a qualifying offer, and then he'd be a restricted free agent. So, yeah, you never know. Blazers Pulse. Yo, Eric, this is Blazers Pulse 8.8K on IG. I just want to make sure you know a Leo, and if he helps you guys run your... Oh, yeah, Leo runs our page, Blazers Pulse. So, yeah, thanks for checking, making sure. But, yeah, any questions about the Blazers Uprise Instagram page, Leo is running that. So, yeah, go ahead. I give him permission to... talk to you. Thanks for checking, though. So Monkey's off, Lillard's back. He finally has his triple-double. He got it against Westbrook. For those that missed it, Lillard, it came out today what he said to Westbrook at the end of their confrontation in the last Rockets-Blazers game. And he told Westbrook that he doesn't want to see him in the playoffs, and then the ref ended the fight. That was funny. Yeah, so Little's kind of weird. He was in high school, he handled the ball. He was great creator off the dribble, and then he goes to North Carolina, has to come off the bench, and not really his role, the spot up 3-point shooter. So the more he cuts, the better he'll be. But I'm wondering if someday he'll go back to being able to handle the ball a little bit. He obviously probably doesn't have the green light to do that. But yeah, I really like Little's on-ball defense and his ability to cut. He made like 3 or 4 cuts in a row in that first half, and almost every time he got an easy bucket. I also like the plays where we give the ball to the big or someone cutting through the middle near the free throw line, and then you have the cutter cutting baseline. It's almost always open. I wish they would go to it more often, because if teams start to cover that, then it's going to leave 3-point shooters open. So like, I just wish we'd have more variances out of the offensive sets we do, but can't really complain about how many points the offense is putting up right now too much. Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever be as good as Kawhi, but he's kind of quiet like Kawhi so far too. I don't know if that's just because he's an unconfident rookie, but I like his game. Jake Carey says it's a little easier when they trap. That's true, but you basically have to trap on Lillard right now. So that leaves someone open. And if they don't, Lillard's just killing people. So yeah, like I'll take my chances if teams don't want to trap and leave Lillard one-on-one with someone, because I like that better actually. So yeah, if they're gonna, there was a couple times they sent a quick double at Lillard, and if you just pass to the middle of the key and get someone going towards the basket around the free throw line, the Rockets did this a lot. It didn't really work out for them because they were missing so many threes, but you can see how they have shooters in both corners and they can just kick out to either side. I like it better when someone cuts down that lane, especially if it's a guy like Little. Jake saying, just saying we don't see it all the time or more often. Yeah, but like a lot of those back doors are open, and that's where Nurk gets a lot of assists too, by people cutting. Like even Dame cutting, he hasn't really done that a lot this year. I don't know if that's just because Whiteside isn't as good of a facilitator as Nurk, obviously, but yeah, those backdoor cuts are there almost all the time. And even if they're not trapping, you get guys falling asleep off ball a lot. So Randall Pink Floyd. I heard there was a brawl at the end of that game, the Knicks Grizzlies game, but I didn't see like what started it or what happened. That was the other thing. I think Little, he didn't get his first foul until late in the second half. So I like that he was defending well without fouling as well. I forgot who it was. It might have been First P, Last Jail. Someone earlier asked me what position I wish we would trade for. I want them to trade for a small forward, power forward, hybrid type player. Would be a perfect scenario. So like a Covington or an Otto Porter type, I think would be the best case scenario, because then you can have a lot of versatility between switching guys between small forward and power forward and playing bigger lineups or smaller lineups and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so he says Crowder shot a 3 with the Grizzlies up 19 at the end of the game. That's funny. Yeah, it's almost to the point where if there's like a few seconds left, you better just hold the ball. Yeah, the Knicks are terrible. Yeah, just I'd rather not take that chance for it to come down to free agency, given how free agency has worked out in the past. But yeah, I almost wish Olshey would go back to going for more value type signings, like the Minu and Ed Davis type signings versus like Evan Turner. Yeah, I heard that the Knicks crowd was yelling or chanting "Sell the team." That was pretty funny. I don't like MKG at all, Jake. I'm sick of having players who are that bad on offense. Ryan Torrey was at the game tonight. He should be back any minute. Yeah, he'd be good defensively, but we're talking about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He's someone that the other teams would just leave open. So I'm sick of having those guys. You can see what a difference it is having guys like Ariza and Hood who have to be accounted for in offense and who move around. So I want guys more like that. Yeah, I guess J.R. Smith liked the Instagram post of the crowd chanting "Sell the team" too. It's such a bad situation there in New York. You can't really. Yeah, I don't know what to do. You can't really force James Dolan to sell the team. I mean, it's not like he's done anything like the Clippers situation where you force a guy out because of racism or anything like that. He's just not good at being an owner. So, I mean, you can't really. It's his team. He can do with it whatever he wants, right? But at the same time, I guess the NBA did step in when Philadelphia was going through the trust the process situation. They brought in Brian Colangelo to help Sam Hinkie get out of that. I thought that was meddling too much, but yeah. And no, the NBA would never move the Knicks to Seattle, so that's not going to happen. Yeah, Marvin Williams would be an excellent choice. I think, I highly doubt he'd get more than the mid-level exception. So, yeah, he might be a solid bench guy. And if the rumors are true, we talked about this earlier on the podcast, that Melo's interested in staying. I mean, you have a bench scorer in Melo. You have a solid vet shooter like Marvin Williams. I mean, the roster is a little old, but I don't think that's the worst case scenario. Seattle Supersonics, yeah. Yeah, I think the Blazers are going to be scary. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if both Melo and Marvin Williams make sense. That's one of the reasons why I was pretty high on trading for Marvin Williams earlier in the season, but now it doesn't make a lot of sense. Joshua asked if Gary Trent continues to improve, then do we really need someone like Rocco for next year? I mean, I'd like to have as many good wings as possible. That's just how I would play it. So Covington's more of a 3-4 type, whereas Trent's more of a 2, maybe 3 type. So I don't think that they conflict with each other enough to not warrant trading for a guy like Robert Covington or Otto Porter. And yeah, I'm still high on Simon, so I haven't completely given up on him like a lot of people have. But I think this year will be good for him starting hopefully next year. Might still be a couple years away, but Beavis says he doesn't want Covington or Porter. That's fine. Do you not like their playing style, or you're worried about Porter's injury, or what? Or you have to give up too much for Covington, or what's your reasoning behind that? See, I was on the trade CJ train for a while. I'm not that high on it anymore. I just think I'd rather see what they did with better players around them first before completely giving up on them. It's up 17 Snowstorm. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, people always say, "Oh, trade CJ for a small forward that's a better defender," but like, hardly anyone ever comes up with that person or who would be the ultimate player to trade for. And most of the suggestions I see, I don't really like that much. Yeah, the Bucks aren't trading Middleton, so you can stop that right now. Obviously, if they offered us Chris Middleton for CJ, we'd have to take that because Middleton's been fantastic and he's bigger and a better defender. But like, yeah, you basically need a guy who's can create a shot like CJ on offense, but is a much better defender. And so those kind of guys are tough to find if you're trading CJ for them. But yeah, I still don't think this organization is ready to break those two up. So I don't even think that's a realistic possibility. Based on the offseason and all four of those guys between Olshey, Stotts, CJ, and Dame all getting extensions, I don't think they're going to break up those four anytime soon, especially a season like this where they have the injury excuse or reasoning or whatever you want to label it. I just don't think that they're going to split those guys up. RIP Blazer says trade Whiteside and a first for Danny Green and JaVale McGee. I don't know why the Lakers would do that. I don't even think that works financially. Would I rather take on Tobias Harris's 5-year deal or Kevin Love's current deal? If we're talking for Whiteside, I'm assuming. If I had to take one or the other, I'd definitely take Tobias Harris. I think he just fits in better with this roster and more long term. But yeah, I doubt that would be either of those trades would be, well, the Kevin Love trade maybe for Whiteside, but I wouldn't trade CJ for Tobias Harris. I don't think that solves anything. And then for people, 17 snowstorm, man, we're not going to. Oh, here's Tori calling. Do you want me to just do audio? I don't know what's going on with Tori called me. Yeah, I don't know. Mute him. I'm not. He's gonna have to explain to me on the air how to get him involved here.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, how do I get your audio on here?
Give me a sec.
People are telling me not to answer.
So you got a source? How bad is my truck background noise right now?
It's pretty bad.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm on speaker, but I take it off speaker.
Oh, you're going through a tunnel. Can't hear you, but no, just kidding.
Yeah, never mind then. I was gonna call in, but yeah, I forgot you didn't have that set up. So I'll be on in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right, peace.
Bye. So I don't know if you guys could hear any of that, but I think he's still in his car and it sounded horrible. So we're just going to wait till he gets home. And Productions played in his first game. Did it feel good to be out on the court? Yeah, I don't know how to add his audio. I barely know enough to get myself on here. Said he'd be here. He was trying to agree with you for your CJ Harris trade. Yeah, I just don't think that solves anything. It just moves our issues from shooting guard to small forward, and it doesn't really help our defense that much. I mean, Tobias is a okay defender, but it's not. I just don't think that solves us that much. I must still have a flip phone. I have a really good phone actually, but yeah, that was Tori calling me, not the other way around. We all know Tori has a horrible phone and a crappy charger. Yeah, Drew is very interesting. He's, I mean, way better defender. So, yeah, that would be an interesting swap, but I don't think he's as good creating his own shot or scoring as CJ is. Definitely not as good of a shooter. So, you're just basically moving some of your issues on offense to defense. No, I don't have an iPhone. I have the Galaxy S10. Let's see. That's all right, and predictions. Hopefully next game you'll score. Just have confidence. Yeah, trade Hazonia for Giannis. That would be awesome. All right, please Blazers. Whiteside and a first for Marcus Smart does not come close to working financially either. Olshey getting Melo and Ariza possibly saved our season. Yeah, Shane, I think that was obviously I don't think Melo coming in before the season started would have been a good fit. But once we lost Collins, it turned out to be pretty good that he was available still. And yeah, trading for Ariza, that trade looks great through 3 games so far. How's the battery life on the S10? It's really good. The only time I've ever had issues with it was over the summer. Family went to Disneyland, so was there. They have apps where you can plan to go on your next ride at certain times and go to the front of the lines or whatever through the apps. So I was basically on it all day, so it kind of ran out. Had to go recharge it a couple times, but other than that, I haven't had any problems. Are you kidding? Who are you talking to, Beavis? Dame Dollar asks Hood or Ariza. Why not both? I mean, Ariza is not. Hood's much more of a long-term fix, assuming that he's somewhat okay after his Achilles injury. But that's funny. Tori's trolling you guys. But yeah, I like having Hood and Ariza on the team. Ariza isn't really a long-term fix after probably next year, but we're going to need guys while Hood's recovering. So that's why I would much rather keep both of them. And yeah, like Chris says, you have a great rotation between the two of them. You always have one of them in the game. You could have Hood playing more with the bench where he could be a go-to scorer. I should ban Torrey for his awful trade idea. Torrey says we should trade Whiteside for Brandon Beal, David Bertans, and a first. I don't know who Brandon Beal or David Bertans is. So Chris asks, how can we afford Ariza next year? We don't want to pay $12 million, do we? So here's the situation. We, depending on what happens here in the next week, we could have roughly about $10 million to $12 million at the most if Hood opts in, which I'm assuming he'll do since he'll be recovering. So if you do that and then you have the full mid-level exception still, which is almost $10 million, it's not really going to be that big of a difference, maybe getting $12 million in free agency versus $10 million. So we just simply pick up his option. It's not, we don't have to have extra money or extra cash or anything. The only thing we have to be kind of concerned about with a Whiteside trade then before the deadline is taking on too much salary to where next year we'd be pushing above the luxury tax again. But even if that was the case, I mean, as long as Jody's okay with it, there's nothing preventing us from being in the luxury tax again. We just trigger the repeater tax the following season, which isn't horrible. I mean, there's no real reason to be afraid of that if the owner is willing to pay money. But yeah, there's not really a lot of downside to it if Jody's willing and wants to go that route. Now, if she's saying to cut money at all costs, which the first trade did seem like somewhat of a money-saving thing, or if her demand is to get under the tax here at the deadline, we'd have to trade Whiteside basically for about $21 million in salary. And that's going to be hard to do, but it is possible. A lot harder to do without Dallas in the mix because they had a huge trade exception that they could have taken some money on. But yeah, if they want Ariza next year, all they have to do is pick up his option. It's not really, they don't have to find that money for him. It's there if they want to take that. Same with Whiteside. He's technically a restricted, or not restricted, but we have full bird rights, even though he's an unrestricted free agent. So we could actually sign him anywhere from the minimum to a max contract, whatever they agreed upon. But that also means if he's unrestricted that he could sign with any other team and we don't have the right to match. So he could be gone if he gets a good offer right away in free agency. I would love to have Beal, but that's not really an option. I do think it's going to be tough, but the fact that Mario has a player option for next year, it might mean that it'd be better to trade him right now, because even if it's for someone worse than him, which I don't know if that's totally possible. That sounded really mean, sorry. But you just want to get that contract off the book so he doesn't accept this summer. Not for sure, knowing what he'll do. He might test free agency again, which would be a good case. But if not, he'd be back on the team next year, and there's nothing we could do about it. So Torrey's not at the bar, Chiefin. He went to the game. He'll be home in a few minutes. Mario for an In-N-Out burger. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Tommy, I'd love to do Mario in a second for Torrey Craig or even Millie Beasley too, but I doubt um, either one. I doubt Denver does either of those deals. Although they have given us a Nurk and a first for Plumlee in a second in the past, so never know. But yeah, I would take either of those deals if they were on the table. Yeah, Zacho, whether In-N-Out is overrated or not is beside the point. I think you would still take it for Mario, right? Portland Made asks, do you think we'll ever get a big free agent? With the contracts Dame and CJ just signed, it's pretty much impossible to get a max contract anytime in the next 4 or 5 years. So, yes, I do believe that they could get the right free agent if they had the salary cap to do so. But the years they've had cap in the past have been there's been years like in 2016 where lots of teams had cap space. Same with 2015. So you're competing with so many other teams. But you saw a lot of players like Cantor, Greg Monroe. There's a lot of players that probably regretted not signing with the Blazers when they got offers from the Blazers. I know Cantor's situation. He did sign and then OKC matched. But you saw him coming back. You saw Whiteside when he played in Portland the next season after signing back with Miami. He actually said that Portland was his second choice and he kind of regretted his decision. Chiefin, I heard about it. Randall Pink Floyd told me more of the specifics about it, but I haven't actually seen the video of it yet. So many comments being held for review. Beavis is betting right now we win the chip. Yeah, you can get pretty good odds. I think I saw it at 100 to 1 or something the other day. I am drinking water out of my 49ers cup. If you guys are in the Portland area and you need party supplies for the Super Bowl this weekend, come see me at the party spot. Alex Wolf asked if Dallas gave up too much for Willie Cauley-Stein. They gave up a pick that's going to be in the 50s for him. So no, they didn't give up too much for him. When is Torrey eating the wings? I don't know. Probably procrastinated on that like he does with everything. Ha, just kidding, Torrey. Yeah, Satola, I completely agree. Can't wait for Nurk and Zach to be back. Throw them in the mix here with our lineup right now. And all of a sudden our bench improves. I just think we have a nice solid rotation, especially with Trent stepping up lately. That's why AM Production says if Dame beats both Harden and Westbrook in the playoffs, Harden and Westbrook's career is over. I don't know about that far, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to play OKC in the playoffs last year and not tank that last game to play Utah, because it's just so satisfying when you win a series against guys like Westbrook and Paul George and stuff like that. Chief and Man, you're asking all these questions we've already talked about a lot. It's all good, though. Blazers back in it, but we're still 6 games behind 500. Yeah, I mean, we can't really fix that. Just got to take one game at a time. Cliche answer, I know. But, yeah, I mean, I like the way they're playing right now. Defense still needs to improve, but yeah, I think they can beat anyone right now, but they also can lose to anyone. So it's going to take them becoming more consistent. I still think they need to make one more move here at the deadline to make sure they stay consistent, but yeah. Chiefin says he's so tired of seeing the Thunder winning. Yeah. They're also interesting what they're going to do in this next week. Do they add to their roster to try and make a run this year, or do they give up players knowing that it could cost them a run, or do they just stick with their team right now and not get anything and risk guys like Gallinari leaving in the offseason? Yeah, Merson says he loves beating Westbrook and Harden. How did Dame chase that triple-double? He got it on an offensive rebound, didn't he? If you watch the ESPN broadcast, they actually went into detail about how Dame wasn't chasing down rebounds, even though he was at 9. Well, of course he was trying to rebound, but he wasn't like, I don't know. You have to go for a rebound to get a rebound too. It's not like you can get a rebound without trying to get one, so I don't know what that necessarily means. Zaka, why are you trolling, man? Zaka tried to troll at the end of the podcast earlier today too by saying that the Blazers were in talks to get Love. RIP Blazers, I agree that getting in the next couple weeks Otto Porter, Nurk, Scal, and Zach back would be excellent boost to this team. Randall Pink Floyd mentions Dario Saric. Now, that's an interesting name because he was recently kind of benched by Phoenix, was only playing like 4 or 5 minutes a game. He had to play a little bit more again based on injuries and stuff like that. But he's someone who would fit into either the trade exception or that you would only have to trade a few minimum contracts for. Or you could do a bigger trade where you got him and, say, a Tyler Johnson for Whiteside and a pick or something. However, he is a restricted free agent after this season, and with Scal already being a restricted free agent, I don't know how many of those kind of guys Olshey will go after, or if he'll risk what they'll have to pay those kind of guys in free agency. In the past, it's been more like guys who want to or guys who still have another year. Like Plumlee was in the last year of his rookie deal, and we traded him for Nurk, who still had an extra year left, so we had a whole year to play with him before we had to make a decision whether to re-sign him. So, what's up, People's Mix? Good night, Nah. Good to see you in here. Nah's my boy. Oh no, here comes the Lakers fan. Yeah, it should be a good game on Friday. Well, so Austin says he doesn't want to trade for Porter Jr. because Little is a small forward for the future. We need to upgrade the two, whether that be this year or next. Whiteside, cool if we can sign him for less. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think Little and Porter Jr. can both play together because they can both play either the 3 or the 4. And Porter's only got one more year after this one. So worst case scenario, he flames out, or Little is showing that he is ready for a bigger role. Then you trade Porter next year, or you let him expire next year and give Little a bigger role. I don't think either way that really hinders Little's development at all. If you're talking about a guy like, if you're trading for Kevin Love or someone like that who has 3 or 4 years left on their contract, then I could see the point you're making. But I don't think Porter's contract is going to hinder anything. Gassy says, hey, you need a sheet to hang behind you that looks like the Blazers press backdrop. Yeah, dude, do you want to provide that for me? I figured out how to get live again. That's about the extent of my abilities right now. And there's nothing wrong with the Blazer blanket. So Randall Pinkfoy says, see above Sark and Baines. Yeah, I'd like Baines. He'd be a good temporary Whiteside replacement if we traded Whiteside. But how would you get Sark and Baines without? Because then you'd have to include Tyler Johnson if you're talking about Whiteside. And then you're talking about 3 for 1. So then you'd have to throw in other players. It's just really hard to get to there without messing with the roster spots for both teams. Yeah, Hamza, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about the All-Star Reserve things. I mean, keep asking, ask them on Twitter or something. But yeah, it's tomorrow, so. Yes, first P, the Bulls are very bad this year. Thankfully, we beat them twice when we were losing to all the other crappy teams. Yeah, actually, so I went to a Bulls forum the other day and just kind of looking around. I like to go to other teams' websites and kind of see what the other fans are thinking, see if there's any other kind of trade possibilities out there. And there was some talk about a lot of the Bulls fans would want like a late lottery pick for Lauri Markkanen. And so one of the teams you mentioned was the Blazers, since we're kind of hovering around the late lottery. So yeah, we could trade a first straight up for Markkanen. They wanted it to be like unprotected or with very little protections so that it had a possibility to move up, which I don't agree with. But Markkanen's interesting because, I mean, he's having a terrible year, but he's a good player. He's just not a great defender. So I don't like having bigs that aren't good defenders with Dame and CJ. But he still has the ability to be a good player. He's just being broken by the Bulls right now. Emerson says, read an article which states trading Hassan was a coin toss. Is there a possibility of not trading him, or we should be because of salary reasons? I mean, Tori and I are both in agreement that we have to trade him, but I definitely see a scenario where we don't. And the only reason why I can think of that, other than they think they're going to make a run this year, which they've already said that they're not going to make decisions just based on this year. So that would be kind of going against what they said. But the only logical thing I can think of is they don't want to be in a situation moving forward where they're pushing the luxury tax, and letting Whiteside walk for nothing would basically ensure that they didn't have to worry about the luxury tax for a while until you had to maybe re-sign guys like Zach and Simons and stuff like that. So that would be the only reason why I can think of to let Whiteside stay and then walk at the end of the year, just to have a clear cap situation going forward. But I'm hoping that's not the case. Yeah, what Zacho said is perfect. It's not like most people don't want him gone. He just has to be traded to better the team long term. Yeah, Markkanen probably would be pretty good in the Stott system, but he's actually a decent post-up player, and that was one of the things that I was reading about, how the Bulls were breaking him into just basically being what Aminu was for us last year, where he just stands at the three-point line and doesn't ever do anything else. He just basically shoots threes. And I mean, I guess that would work for Stotts, but it hasn't worked with him just doing that this year, so I don't know if that's the best scenario. For those asking again, People's Mix, Tori was at the game. He'll be on a little bit. Yeah, Whiteside was always meant to be the bridge between not having Nurk and getting Nurk back. And it was always the plan, I think, to move him. Now he's putting up great stats and I kind of talked about this earlier, but the value as a player doesn't match what we can get in a trade. Part of that's because of his reputation. Part of that's because the fact that he makes $27 million, and most teams that could use him don't have the salary to trade back. So it's just, Tori's internet's not working. That sucks. You can be a chat boy for now. Yeah, so under that scenario where we let Whiteside walk and clear the cap a little bit, that's the problem. It doesn't get us any more avenues to re-sign or to add players to the roster. So doing so, and then it also makes it to where we don't have a lot of players to trade this summer if we had a deal available. So yeah, there's not really any logical reason other than simply financial to keep Whiteside, in my opinion. Or worst case scenario, I guess, would be if they don't think Nurk is ever going to be the same again. But I find that really hard to believe based on how well he's looked in workouts and him being on schedule from what they were saying at the beginning of the year. Blazers having fun in the locker room. Yeah, well, winning helps. But yeah, Dame is on a heater, man. He is so good right now. He's playing like he's been a top 10 player in the league, but he's playing. I mean, there's no one better than Dame in the league right now, and that's amazing to say. But yeah, it's frustrating too because of our record. If we were like where we were in the third seed range, like we were the last couple of years, he'd definitely be getting a lot of MVP consideration right now. Yeah, Dame is on God mode. Shout out to Melo too. Didn't have the greatest game, but he did pass Kevin Garnett into 17th all-time in scoring. Really cool accomplishment. He's actually pretty close to... He's a few hundred away. I forgot who is immediately ahead of him. There's two guys at 16 and 15 that he should pass later this year, and he might even get up to where Tim Duncan is in like 14th range. Haven't heard any news about Nurk. I'm assuming the plan all along has been to have him play his first game after the All-Star break. I'd love to see him in the first few games before the All-Star break, but doubt that'll happen. Oh, Tori is busy being a Westbrook fanboy. No time for us. He chased him down after the game. He's hiding out by the team bus or something. Tim Wilson asked, do you think the Blazers make one more move or stand pat? I'd be surprised if they didn't make even a small move, either using their trade exception, the Hood disabled player exception, or just like trading a small trade like the Stauskas and Baldwin trade for Hood last year. Something like that I could definitely see. I'm still holding out hope that they'll get something good for Whiteside. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't see them just completely standing pat right now. I just don't know if that's the best move. Are we not going to have a center for a few games after we trade Whiteside? Well, what I just talked about, like a minimum contract guy you could trade for someone on another team, a center, just a minimum center, just to have someone, or if it's like the case of a Covington and Jang type trade. Good night, First P. Thanks for listening, man. But yeah, if it's a trade like that where you get a guy like Jang or even just whatever, add a crappy center in there. I don't think it's gonna be like a case where we're just not gonna have a center, and we have Swanigan too. But yeah, even if it's just a guy like Willie Hernan-Gomez from Charlotte or something like that, I think they'll find a way to add a center if they do trade Whiteside, just so this they're not relying so much on Nurk and Collins to come back and play right away. Tory Internet is exposed. Blazers are winning the title next year. That'd be nice. Angel, we're not dumping CJ's contract. It's not happening. I was having trouble keeping up a chat for a while, so if you asked a question and I missed it, just ask it again. Hopefully I'll see it. So RIP Blazer said trade Whiteside and a 2021 for Otto Porter and Markkanen. Laurie play the 5 until he's back. Well, Laurie just got hurt and he is out 4 to 6 weeks. So, yeah. Chief and asked if the Jang and Covington is still a viable option. I don't know. I'm just saying that's like best case scenario, but probably not. They're asking a lot for Covington, so who knows? But that's still my dream scenario, because then we get a quality center who would be a nice backup for Nurk, and then another wing player, and that would help us for next year too, in addition to still upgrading the roster for this year. Do I like Ariza and Melo more than Aminu and Mo? Well, it's only been 3 games, but yeah, I do like Ariza better than Aminu and Mo. Melo, Melo's got a lot of strengths that Aminu and Mo don't have, but Mo and Aminu are definitely better defenders. But this team was never a great defender outside of Nurkic with Aminu and Mo. So I think they're kind of overrated defensively sometimes. And when you combine that with their lack of offense they gave at times, I'd almost rather have a lot of people. Beavis, come on, man, TMI. Just kidding. I guess I'm happy for you. Yeah, there was I wrote this down. There was a couple plays in the first half where CJ had like a really slow, lazy closeout on Austin Rivers, didn't get his hand up, and Austin Rivers hit a 3. And then a couple possessions later, Melo was late closing out on him, and he hit another 3. That kind of stuff is frustrating. And then there was a play where Melo double-teamed Harden off a pick around half court, and Harden passed the ball. And Melo just stood there doubling teaming Harden when he didn't have the ball. And then they rotated around, and I forgot what happened on the play. They got an open shot. But stuff like that can't happen. If you double team, you have to, once the pass is made, you have to work your butt off to get back into your rotations. And so, yeah, stuff like that is, he's in his mid-30s. You can't really ask too much of him to play lights-out defense. But so Randall's asking, in my opinion, is Swanigan unplayable? I don't think he's unplayable against some teams, especially right now if he's our only backup center. But against a situation like tonight, where, like I said, where their big man is Tucker and then they're playing 4 guards when Capella's not in the game, there's absolutely no reason for Swanigan to be on the floor. And it's not like we take advantage of the mismatch either. It'd be one thing if Swanigan was the type that could score because he has a smaller guy on him. He had one nice post up today, but that was it. But we don't take advantage of those mismatches. If you go big, it's beneficial if you take advantage of it on the offensive end, but it kills you on defense when you are playing a team that works the ball around the perimeter and shoots threes, when you have guys like Swanigan and Melo in the game. I'd much rather have Scal, like Austin Wax says. Yeah, Harden's playing really weird lately. He just seems disinterested. I don't understand what's going on with him, but I'm glad he's doing that in the stretch where they played the Blazers twice in a couple weeks. I'm not saying Melo's like bad or anything. I'm happy to have him on the team. I'm just saying he has some really lazy moments on defense. Was I surprised that Little fell so far in the 2019 draft? Yes, I was, and I was very happy that he fell to the Blazers. I never thought doing my draft prep for the live stream we did that would even be a decision that the Blazers would possibly have. But yeah, I was happy he fell to them. I know a lot of people changed their mind on him after a bad summer league and struggling at times this season, but he wasn't supposed to play this season. He was kind of a project, similarly to Collins and Simons last couple years. So anything he gave us this year was going to be a bonus, and I still think he's going to be a good player down the road, especially with his energy and defensive attitude and stuff. Do I think Melo comes back this year? So we talked about this on length on our podcast earlier. It's going to be, I don't know. He has, he's saying the right things. Is he going to accept a lesser role next year? And will he accept a minimum contract, or is he going to chase money? Or is he going to chase maybe playing for a better team? But he seems to really like playing with Dame at the same time. So I don't know. If he accepted a bench role and it was for a minimum contract or close to it, then I could definitely see him back. And be fine to have a guy like him as a scorer off the bench. I agree with Emerson that Dame's passing is very underrated. He hasn't had a lot of good finishers around him to have high assist numbers, but you can see just having a guy like Ariza in the right spots, or a cutter, and then a finisher like Whiteside down low, how much his assists have improved this year, and especially the last few games. I think he's averaging, close to 10 assists, 8 or 9 assists the last 4 or 5 games, so definitely a good passer. Yeah, Harden, I mean, it was said that he had problems with Chris Paul last year, so I don't know. I don't know what his deal is, but he definitely needs to get out of it if they want to make a run this year. Because Westbrook is going to be... He's one of those guys in the playoffs you don't really want to have to rely on. So, but he doesn't play off the ball well, so I never thought that was a good fit to begin with. I understand trying to get out of Chris Paul's contract, but I don't think Westbrook is a great fit with Harden anyway. I actually think they were set up to be a good regular season team with their roster. I would love to play them in the playoffs. People's mix. Are you talking about Harden or Westbrook wanting out of Houston? Angel says, a friend of mine named Sydney says hi. Hi, Sydney. Russ literally got to play with KD, PG, and Russ. I think you mean Harden, right? Chiefin. I guarantee Dame wins a ship with one of those players. Yeah, if Dame played with KD or Paul George or James Harden, he'd be even more unstoppable than he is right now. And yeah, I would body Harden in the post. I shot around last night for the second time since my surgery. Starting Saturday, I can start to work in some light jogging and hopefully be on the court soon. Getting very excited about that. My shot felt good though. Tori better watch out. Emerson says, I don't like Westbrook, but he did everything possible in this game. Tried to carry the team with the help of snipers, but Hate those Westbrook reactions. Yeah, he's like too emotional. That's like I like guys like Dame who, for the most part, stay more even keeled throughout the game. Angel, thanks for the donation. She was stoked on life about you saying hi. Well, good to have you listening, Sydney. Thanks for the donation, though. Tori will appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you, Hamza. Yeah, Russ is way too emotional. I agree with that. About to come back like Melo. Yeah, but Melo wasn't hurt. I'm about to come back like Nurk. That's more like it. Yeah, I was so bummed when Collins got hurt because I think he was ready to break out this year. Blazers Uprise crew will become next ESPN commentators. That would kind of suck to be a national commentator because then you wouldn't be able to watch all the Blazer games live. Thanks for the nice comment, Alex. Thanks for listening. I have a hard time comparing Collins to anyone either, but I will say, he's just a smart player. He knows where to be. He moves his feet well in defense, so you don't have to worry about him switching on to guards too much. He goes vertical a lot instead of trying to block shots. Yeah, he's a different player than Siakam, even though he could have that kind of jump, hopefully. He's just the type that's never going to put up huge stats. He's not going to average 20 points a game or have 12 rebounds a game or anything like that. He just does little things that help teams win. And yeah, it was a real bummer because I think he definitely would have led to the team being above 500 at this point if he was healthy. But then we might not have Melo, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but read off Kent. Okay. Cheevan's asking me to look at other player stats from tonight. All right, so Bazemore was 1 for 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 points, 3 rebounds in 18 minutes. Tolliver played 24 minutes, or 22 minutes, was 1 of 4 from the field and from three-point land, had 3 points and 6 rebounds, and the Kings lost by 20. Meanwhile, you have Ariza scoring in the 20s, 21 points, and playing some great defense. Little was I'm not a huge on plus-minus stats, but Little was a plus 17 tonight. That's great to see. He was rewarded by getting to stay in the game a little longer than he normally does. Yeah, Zach could be like a Kevin McHale, but I just don't think he has the same scoring mentality that McHale had, nor do I think he'll ever get as many post-ups as McHale got. Otherwise, yeah, maybe. He's got that nice up and under move where he pump fakes and gets the defender up and then lays it in. But yeah, I'm glad we have a reason. Especially the way he's looking so far. Sorry, I didn't read your comment, Zacho. It's disgusting, Eric. Don't look until after I read it. Jake says he watches that Jazz preseason highlight package for Zach about once a week. Who do you think his comparison is, Jake? Do you have a comparison for him? Speaking of kickballs, yeah. What is up with Blazers getting hit in the nuts lately? It's not good. Whiteside's gotten a couple lately, including a bad one tonight. I'm so glad they called that, though. Yeah, I think if a team like committed to playing Zach in the post and giving him several touches of the game, similar to what we did with Aldridge when he was here, I think that'd be good for him. I think he would do well in that role. It's just he's more of a glue guy, though, in my opinion, versus like someone who's gonna take over a game. If Zach could ever get his, I know he was shooting well, but it's only a 3-game sample size, so it's hard to tell if it was just 3 games or if it's, improvement in his game. But if he can get up to 40% or near 40% shooting threes, he'd be like a really good player. Especially, he'd be the perfect power forward next to Dame and CJ. Canadian Zombie says we're getting Hayward from Boston and winning the chip. I still don't think Boston's going to trade Hayward. And everything I'm hearing out of Boston is that they're happy with their bigs and aren't going to make a big move to get a big man. That doesn't mean they might not trade for some depth, but I would be really surprised, pleasantly surprised if we got Gordon Hayward, but I just don't think that's happening. Tori's internet is still not working. Later, Randall. Thanks for listening. Have a good night. The Spurs are winning without Aldridge. '17 snowstorm back again. Hello. Where do you keep going? Tori needs to pay that Xfinity bill. He hadn't had issues with his internet for a while. Yeah, Gassy, this was Dame's first triple-double. He finally did it. That must have been so bad last year when Evan Turner had those 2 games where he got back-to-back triple-doubles. Would I like to see Zach become kind of like a Jaren Jackson Jr., shot-blocking power forward who shoots 40% from 3? I mean, yeah, that's the dream. Thanks, 17 Snowstorm. Yeah, Dame has shooters, and he's got a big that... What's Whiteside shooting on the year? Like 60%? Don't know if this includes tonight's game or not. Yeah, he's at 60% shooting for the year. So anytime you can dump it off and a guy's scoring 60% rate, that'll help your assist numbers. If the Blazers are still at 100-1 to win the title, a $20 bet would be $2,000. I think, if my math's right. Tori, why does Whiteside's name make chat have to be hidden, or if you're listening? Get this gassy jalapeno banned. Tori hates Whiteside secretly. Yeah, you only get, if you bet on the Blazers to win the championship, you only get that if they win. So you'd lose your money if they lost, even if they made it to the finals and lost. Probably viewed as a hollow comment. It's an empty comment. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna look up if they have. The Oregon Lottery scoreboard app is a little skewed because a lot of people bet on the Blazers. So it's currently 64-1. But I think you can get better odds if you went to a non-Oregon website to made the bet or made it in Vegas. Tori's at home sleeping. Yeah, maybe. He's not even on chat. What's your most memorable Dame moment? Well, it have to be either 0.9 or the 37-footer. That's a hard one to say which one is better. At the time, 0.9 to me couldn't be beat because of the fact that we hadn't been out of the first round in so long, and just what that meant to the franchise and stuff like that. But man, it was just so cool to hit that shot, a 37-foot step back or step to the side with Paul George in your face and ruining a franchise. And then you have the decency to wave them bye-bye afterwards. And then on top of that, you get in the pile and you just look up like, no, like, yeah, I did that without any super excited reaction or anything like that. Like he knew he was going to do it. Yeah, it would have been sweeter if Westbrook was guarding him, but Westbrook is too scared to guard him most of the time. He usually hides off of him. Triple doubles, yeah, it's an overrated stat, but it's still a good stat, especially when a guy like Dame who doesn't just go for triple doubles. I mean, you can watch videos of Westbrook losing games for the Thunder because he was trying to get assists instead of taking shots that would have been easier for him to score. Guys, Beavis and Gassy, let's just not comment to each other if you guys can't be nice. I like when Dame guards Westbrook too. I kind of like when Dame doesn't get hidden on defenders. I know that sucks for him to have to guard good players on one end and then carry the load offensively, so I understand why they do it. But Dame is actually a really good one-on-one defender, I think. Where he gets into trouble is anytime there's a pick, he's not great at navigating through screens. But I actually really like him. Like, he had a few times where Westbrook just had him isolated on the perimeter and tried to go at him, and Dame, he didn't even come close to getting by Dame. People's mix, I don't really care about the All-Star game. I could name reserves, but I really don't. Like, All-Star game, I think is, I know why they do it, and it's never gonna go away, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of dumb. But I do respect when players like Dame get voted in or picked as a reserve. And Dame better be a reserve, because I will be mad even though I don't care about it if he's not. Just name them, Eric. Like, I'd have to take more time than just trying to name 7 people off the top of my head. I wasn't the one who said that I was going to make a video about it either. So I'm the chat's monkey now. Dance monkey. Yeah, I'll try to answer you better on Twitter later. Bailey Smith, are you a Rockets fan? Torrey's wrap will hopefully be by the end of the season. Who knows, though? Yeah. Maybe he should be working on that right now while he's not on the stream. Bailey, what's wrong with Harden if you're a Rockets fan? He seems disinterested right now. Oh, you're a Rockets fan only when Portland beats them. Interesting. So, who's your team then? Mellow stay. How do I don't really know. My hair is fine. It's not balding or anything. I just cut it really short. But yeah, I don't know. This seems like a weird question to ask, though. You're a fan of the 2011 Knicks, but not the Knicks anymore. You're a Knicks season ticket holder, or you were a season ticket holder in 2011? All right, whatever. I don't know what you're trying to say. So Emerson asks, is it possible that Stotts was not bad? I'm not defending him, but Bazemore was just ruining the plays and rotations by bad decision making. Ariza was just plugged in and looked at their offense. Well, I think a little bit of that is when you have a guy like Ariza or any solid vet or any solid basketball IQ guy, they're going to go more off of instinct. So cutting to the basket or defensive rotations, things like that are more ingrained. He's learned what to do in those situations, so he doesn't really need to be coached as much as a Bazemore would. So like, hi Michael Slayton. But yeah, so I just think it's not necessarily that Stott's system is better than we're giving him credit for. He has done a pretty good job the last few games. I've mentioned that before too. Yeah. But I don't know if I can give Stotts full credit for that, for Ariza being a good fit, because he really hasn't had a lot of practice time to learn Stott's system. And this is something that at the beginning of the season, players were talking about how complex it was and how hard it is to learn and how much practice time you need. So like when a player comes in and just learns it right away, it's kind of puzzling to me why other players struggle with it for so long then. I don't think it seems that complicated to me, but and it's also puzzling, like Whiteside the first game hedged and recovered or showed and recovered on picks several times and didn't seem to have any trouble doing so, was actually pretty quick to get back to his man, and it's kind of seemingly been coached out of him. But yeah, I don't know. You're relying so much on these offensive sets for Dame and CJ to make stuff happen. So obviously with better players on the team, it's going to look better. Like in the playoffs last year, when you have a guy like Hood or a guy like Cantor who sucks up a lot of offensive rebounds and can score in the post. It's just better players are going to make Stotts look better, is how I think. Dame Dollar, Torrey got home, but his internet wasn't working, so you're stuck with just me. Later, Hamza. Have a good night, man. Starting to believe that Dame is coaching the team. Good night, Emerson. Thanks for listening. Tori only has enough bandwidth for chat tonight. Well, he's on his phone, and he tried to call me on Skype earlier from his phone. It didn't really sound good. So, yeah, I just think he wants to not hurt your guys' ears. How do you guard Luka? I think you, well, he's only shooting like 32% or so from three. So you have to try to force him into being a shooter. You can't just leave him open because you can knock down threes and get hot. But I don't like what the Blazers did to him last game where they sent the double team way too early. I don't mind double teaming out of picks or showing and recovering on Luka, but you always have to have a guy in front of him. You can't have guys trailing him too much or dropping the big against him. I don't think either of those things work. So, but a guy like that, it's hard. You can't just stop him. It's not that easy. In the last couple games, Blazers have stopped Harden, but I mean that's not an easy task either. And like I mentioned several times, it seems more like he's just not in a good place right now. Not that we're doing anything super special against him. Zacho's been spending the last 20 minutes looking for a good comparison for Zach. Yeah, it's tough. He could be like That's not really a good comparison because he's not a great defender, but kind of like a Kevin Love type player. I think if I don't know, but it's weird. He plays better with better players, I think. So that's why he didn't do well like summer league. And if he was on a team like say Atlanta or something where he was the main big and they didn't have John Collins, I don't think his stats would be great. I think he needs to play on a good team. Yeah, Serge Ibaka is maybe a good comparison. I would definitely take that as like a best case scenario. Zach equals Chris Dudley. Dudley's shot was horrible looking, especially his free throws. Yeah, I don't know about that. Kareem today? You mean like Kareem at 70 years old or whatever, however old he is? Dame for MVP, yeah. He's not going to get any love for MVP with the team being below 500. But yeah, it's a shame because he's having a phenomenal season. Statistically, the best season of his career. And it's hopefully not going to go for waste here. But he's carrying the team right now. But at the same time, the team's had some good performances around him too. So it's nice that it's not just him having to do it. I dare Lillard eat bug. I don't know what that means. Corn dog? Are you just trying to say random stuff? Later, Austin Wack. Later, Mellow Stay. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up the stream in a minute. Does anyone else have any questions before we go? Sean Marion might be a good comparison for Nas. I hope so. Later, People's Mix. What's up, Decline? Didn't know you were in here. How you doing, man? In what scenario would I trade for Love? We talked about this on one of our podcasts the other day, where if it was 2 minutes before the trade deadline and Cleveland called and was like, okay, we'll give you Love for Whiteside, no other assets, I'd probably begrudgingly take it, just because Love's another one of those guys who, even though he's injured a lot and doesn't have he's not really a good fit on this roster in my opinion, but it does fit with what I was saying earlier of just adding guys who know how to play around Dame and guys with high basketball IQs. He's a really smart player, so you add him with Ariza and those kind of guys, I think it makes the team better. I just hate to get stuck with this contract for that long because he's basically going to be untradeable if he doesn't do well. Thanks, Decline. Gallo, see, I don't like trading for anyone this year with an expiring contract, and OKC would have to add another contract because they don't want to go back over the luxury tax line or add salary to their roster. And Gallo's probably the type of guy you'd have to give up a first for. So I don't want any of those guys. The same thing with Aldridge. You have to give up a first in that trade. Otherwise, I mean, I don't even know if the Spurs would do that. So I don't like giving up a first for some of those older guys who are either expiring or don't really change the direction of the franchise enough to warrant giving up a first, but like Aldridge is the type of guy after his contract next year, if he wanted to come back and end his career in Portland, I guess I wouldn't have a problem with that. I just don't want to give up assets for him. Magic in 7 seed. Imagine if Aldridge stayed. Yeah. Comcast has outages across the country. It's not my fault. My internet sucks. Sigh. Well, I'm glad my internet was working tonight then, because it's been at my my store. It's been going out a lot lately. It's really frustrating because then we can't ring up customers and stuff. Ashton, I just gave my thoughts on Stotts. I think he's been doing a better job the last few games. He had a quick plug for Simons tonight, or pulled him pretty quickly. He was kind of struggling defensively. He left Little in the game longer. He didn't really overplay Swan again. I kind of like a lot of those decisions. So yeah, I think Stotts has been okay lately. It hasn't really gotten in the way too much. Other than I thought he had a horrible game plan in the Dallas game. But other than that, I can't really complain about him too much lately. But we'll see when... it's kind of hard to judge anyone else on the team when you have a player that's playing as well as Dame right now. I mean, it's not like he's coaching him to shoot logo threes and making them at such a high clip. So, yeah, it's like when Dame next has a bad game, we'll see how well the rest of the roster and the coaching is. But when Dame's going off, it's pretty easy to have good games, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely. Stotts does have a lot of good qualities in a coach. He definitely enables his players for the most part. But then it's funny, it seems like some of the younger guys, he doesn't let that happen. I disagree that he's that good at coaching adjustments. I think that's one of his worst qualities, especially within a game or in a playoff series. But Sir3255 says, what a backhanded statement. He's not getting in the way too much. Yeah, well, it's kind of like how I wish he would be more often, is just let the players play. I've been asking for different styles of defense, mixing it up more for years now, and I don't like that. Even when like Plumlee was on the team, he went to Stotts and like begged him to let him pressure more off his screens and do more trapping and stuff like that. And they do it for like a game or two and then go away from it. So I just wish they would mix it up a little bit more. But yeah, overall, can't really complain too much, especially with the way Dame's playing. Dame is an amazing player. We're so lucky to have him in Portland. And that's why I got so mad the other day when people were saying that he was going to want out and all that stuff. Injuries low-key been a blessing in disguise. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, we could really use Zach or Nurk right now this season. And if one of those guys, if Nurk wasn't hurt, we'd probably trade for someone else other than Whiteside. So yeah. What's My Store is the party spot over in Aloha. It's like Beaverton, Hillsborough area. We have all kinds of Super Bowl stuff if you need anything for the big game. Yeah, gotta plug that one more time. If you come, tell me you know me from Blazers Uprise. I'll give you a discount. Hook you up. Good luck moving Dame with that Supermax. Who's talking about moving Dame? Did I miss something? Oh, you're saying because I was getting mad at people? There's people saying that Dame was going to ask out, and I basically said that anyone who says that is basically calling Dame a liar because everything he has said he will never do that. So you're basically saying you don't believe him. It's on the about halfway through the stream of the Dallas post-game show. If you want to hear me just going off about it. Yeah, it's about an hour into that, right when I first come on. Jason Jensen says I need to do this on helium. Yeah, it'd be funny, but it's extremely dangerous. And there's been a lot of deaths in the last few years of people just trying to be funny with helium. And don't want to turn this into a dark stream, but yeah. The thing about the young assets getting playing time, it is looking like it's going to be good for guys like Trent, but I feel like they should have gotten more with all the injuries. Especially, there are several games where Little should have played more, specifically when we were struggling on defense, but yeah. Yeah, when he signed the Supermax Dame, that is, there's pretty much no incentive for us to trade him. So, yeah, it's kind of stupid to even talk about. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be an option unless something like drastic happens within the organization to make him mad. But yeah, I don't think so. Has our defense improved over the last few games? It's definitely been good against Houston both times we played them. Whether that's because they missed shots or not, I don't know for sure, but definitely better. I like them mixing it up a little bit, the way they've taken Harden out of the games. But, I mean, our defense was terrible against Indiana. We just happened to score like 139 points or something. So, yeah, I don't know. And then the Dallas game, we gave up, 22 or 23 threes in that game, almost a record. We tied the record between Dallas and us for made threes in a game. We got 10 threes in the first quarter alone and like 45, 48 points or something. So, yeah, I don't know about the defense improving, but I do think Ariza can help that get better. But we still give up a lot of open threes. But yeah, I think I'm going to sign off for the night. We're a little over 2 hours on the stream. Thank you guys all for listening. Still have over 60 people in here. That's really cool. Hopefully I got to most of your guys' questions. And really appreciate all you guys supporting the channel and listening. And I know Tori does too. He really puts a lot of work to Blazers Uprise. And this is going to be a huge week for us in the channel. We're going to have all kinds of coverage for the trade deadline, which is next Thursday, February 6th. And then we'll have our normal podcast next week, probably go a little longer on the Wednesday one, talking about rumored trades and all that kind of stuff. And Tori and I have a big day on Sunday. Our 49ers are in the Super Bowl, so hopefully we're super pumped next week coming off one of our teams winning it all. Not quite as exciting as if the Blazers were to win the championship, but definitely be awesome. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Like Daniel said, go Niners. Thanks for listening. For Blazers Uprise, this has been Eric Brandt with the post-game show. Boo Niners, says Sir 3255. Yeah, I know. A lot of people don't like the Niners, but I've been a fan since I was born and started watching football. And I'm 40 years old, so it's been a long time since they've been relevant. So I'm happy now. What's up, Robbie Stacks? Didn't know you were in here. You've been quiet. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. We'll be back on Friday. Both are, we'll have our podcast in the afternoon and a post-game show after what should be a thrilling game against the Lakers. A very emotional game, most likely. We'll have to see how players react on the court. It'll be the Lakers' first game since the Kobe death. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect. It could be, I don't know. It's going to be a tough game for a lot of those players to make it through. That organization is hurting really bad right now. Still hope we beat him. Yeah, I like I said earlier, Kobe wouldn't want us to lay up for them to win. So he'd want a good fight and have them earn a win. So hopefully we make it hard for them and beat them in their own arena. But yeah, that's going to be a weird game. Anyways, we'll catch you guys on Friday. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Go Blazers.